Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237. Coming at you with another review. And I'm not wearing the Santa hat, so it's not a Christmas review. To be honest, I'm kind of Christmased out, but promised I'd do as many as I can. But this is something I just got for my birthday. This is one of the things I got for my birthday. My girlfriend picked this up for me. So I wanted to check it out, and I had to do a review right now, or else I'd have to watch it again. Mel Brooks' Dracula, Dead and Loving It. And yes, this is obviously a comedy, Mel Brooks. It is a spoof film, of course, Mel Brooks. This was his last movie, all the way back in 1995. He is still alive. He's very old, but he's still alive. Just hasn't made a film since 95. And stars Leslie Nielsen as Dracula and Mel Brooks as Van Helsing. And this movie was very, very poorly received when it first came out. It bombed hardcore at the box office. It has like Rotten Tomatoes, it's in the teens. It has a 5.9 on IMDb. Many people consider it one of the worst or the worst of film by Brooks. It's mostly a parody of the Bela Lugosi Dracula, but it has the aesthetic of Hammer, and there's a few nods and jokes to like Bram Stoker's 1992 Dracula. And the main reason why I wanted to check it out, on top of being a fan of Mel Brooks and Leslie Nielsen and Dracula in general, is because I am a huge, huge, huge fan of his film Young Frankenstein, which parodies the Universal Boris Karloff Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein very, very well. I've done a review for this, so check that out. And I figured this was going to be in the same vein, but I mean, I could say I liked the film. You know, I was at the very least entertained by it. But putting these two together, like side by side, it has similar humor, but I think it's obvious to tell that most the comic genius of this film is Gene Wilder. May he rest in peace. He is a comedy legend. And this one is way more clever, and it, spoofs and parodies in ways that, just, it's silly, but it's done in a way that, is very well done. This almost feels like someone trying to do a Mel Brooks spoof of Dracula. It feels like someone trying to do this. Because, a lot of the humor, like, there's a lot of jokes that don't work. There's a lot of jokes that are obvious punchlines that they thought were gonna get laughs. Like, and I just got done watching this. I saw this back in 95 when it first came out. I remember being with my grandparents, camping in an RV with a TV. He rented this. I was like 4 years old. That was the last time I saw it. But, no, more about the movie. So it stars Leslie Nielsen as Dracula. Peter MacNicol as Renfield. He was Janish in Ghostbusters 2. And he's pretty much doing the Dwight Fry Renfield. And I would honestly say he was probably the best part of the film. I mean, I love Leslie Nielsen to death. I really do. When it comes to comedy, outside of Monty Python, he's one of my idols. But Peter MacNicol did do a great Dwight Fry impression or parody. Also has Brooks as Van Helsing, Lizette Anthony, Harvey Korman, Steven Weber as Jonathan Harker, Amy Yazbek, who was the redhead in the Jim Carrey Mask film. She's Mina. Lizette Anthony is Lucy. And then Harvey Korman is I'm blanking. He's the doctor. Amina's father. And it really does follow out of the same beats. It's Renfield. He travels to Transylvania to finalize the paperwork with Dracula of purchasing the land in London, which he then goes there, and he starts preying upon the women of London. Van Helsing catches on. Renfield becomes his slave that feeds on insects. There are some scenes, much like in this, that is ripped straight from the Dracula film. Well, I mean, even the first time we see him, he's all old, and he has like the Bram Stoker, Gary Oldman kind of like dual Ace Ventura do, but it's just like a wig that he takes off, and it, similar to like the Princess Leia headphones from Spaceballs. And that's another thing. A lot of the jokes is just, we've seen him do this in other films. And I saw the trailer recently, which is what made me kind of want to check it out. And, it opens up like with Dracula doing, like, rising from the coffin, and he hits his head on the chandelier. That's basically the humor. And I mean, even when they're in the ship, traveling in the beginning, the coffin's like sliding around, and when it hits something, you're like, ooh, ah. Renfield trying to stop it, but he's just getting dragged around. It's very slapsticky. And a lot of, sort of softcore PG-13 kind of sexual humor. But there was some stuff that worked. I mean, you could even call it Python-esque, because it's stuff that they would do. Renfield, when they're signing the papers, he gets a paper cut, but it's just like spraying out nonstop. So he's just kind of, and Dracula's more like, or when Harker has to drive a stake through Lucy's heart. As soon as he hits it, it's like a paint bomb of blood just everywhere. Van Helsing tells him he has to do it again, and he does, and blood goes everywhere again. So it does have some stuff that works. Or like when Brooks, as Van Helsing, says they have to kill Lucy or else she'll become a vampire herself. He goes very over the top, and both him and Nielsen do Hungarian accents. Not necessarily perfect, but it's a parody, so you kind of gotta let it slide. And he just does this thing where he's like way over the top on purpose. He's like, "She will become one herself." They're like, "What?" "She will." He does it all over again. Or even the scene when he's trying to get Mina, because he's like with Bela Lugosi, he's like, "Come her." But there's a maid that he put to sleep, so he's trying to get her to come outside, but they both stand. It's like, "No, you sit." But they both sit. He's like, "No, you stand." And they both sit. He's like, No, you." And it's kind of hard to review comedies because all you do is really talk about the jokes that work and ones that don't. And this was in the mid 90s, and the mid to late 90s, no one knew how to use Leslie Nielsen. They didn't know why he was so funny and why he worked so well in Airplane or The Naked Gun or Police Squad. Because Leslie Nielsen was a serious dramatic actor. And when you have someone playing it straight but saying and doing silly things, that's why it's funny. But, you know, he did stuff like this, Mr. Magoo, Spy Hard. He was in a lot of really just childishly silly stuff, and that wasn't Leslie Nielsen's strong point. But I still enjoyed him in this. And Peter MacNicol, I actually was impressed. I mean, they give him like the hair that's always in his face, and like the suspenders that like looks just like Dwight Fry. In fact, my favorite part of Dwight Fry and Dracula is when he's down in the ship and you look at him down through the stairwell. He's just doing that. They do that in this. Like when he goes to check on Dracula when the coffin's sliding around. But then later on, when he's trying to get the garlic out of the room so he can get Lucy, he puts his head under her covers and he goes, So they do parody, some stuff they do parody very well. And I can really only see it appealing to someone who is a fan of either Dracula or at the very least Dracula in general, but also, you know, specifically the Universal Lugosi film. And there were some I almost said drugs for some reason. I'm tired. There were some jokes that just fell flat. I can't even really remember what they were. Some stuff went on way too long. Like when Renfield is meeting with Dr. Seward and he keeps seeing different insects. They're at the dinner table or lunch table, and he keeps trying to like grab it and eat it quickly, but he keeps catching him and he has to keep coming up with excuses. And it keeps getting more and more absurd. That seemed to go on a bit too long. And I will say that one thing that was kind of funny, it was when he turns into a bat, which is bad CGI, but when it's a silly comedy, I gotta let it go. He's trying to fly into Lucy's bedroom, but she shut the window. So we see it's a bat with the face of Leslie Nielsen. And we just see him kind of, and then he slides. Like, it's really stupid, but his reaction to knowing there's glass there was kind of funny. But, I mean, it does have its redeemable qualities, and I would say if it is certainly nowhere near the level of comic genius or perfect parody, being as quotable or memorable or classic as this golden gem. But if you're a fan of Dracula, or at least the original 1931 Universal film, you might find an appreciation for it. And again, it does feel like someone not as funny, who is a Mel Brooks fan, but not as funny, trying to do Young Frankenstein, but with Dracula. But, I mean, I'm not ranting on it. Like, I don't hate I don't even dislike this movie. I still found it entertaining. But anyway, that is Mel Brooks' final film, Dracula, Dead and Loving It. Thank you for watching.